Up this morning, there's a new warning for parents and kids about energy drinks. Maybe you've seen Prime Energy on social media.
Yeah, Brandy Smith explains why the drink is getting so much negative attention. Schools are actually banning it.
You've just come from the Maldives.
It's like swallowing perfume. What is that?
It's been just 3 years since Logan Paul and KSI launched what they boldly claimed would become the next billion-dollar beverage empire. And for a moment, it actually looked like they were right. Prime Hydration wasn't just a drink, it was a movement. Endorsements from top athletes, sold-out launches, kids lining up outside corner stores. It was lightning in a bottle. But fast forward to today, and that same bottle is now sitting untouched on clearance racks. Sales are plummeting, lawsuits are stacking up, and the brand that once positioned itself as a serious threat to Gatorade is now being openly mocked by consumers and health experts alike. What was once hailed as the ultimate creator-led brand now seems to be collapsing under the weight of its own hype. How did one of the most overhyped brands in YouTube history go from global obsession to global cautionary tale? Let's take a deeper look at the rise and the dramatic fall of Prime Hydration. When Logan Paul and KSI joined forces to launch Prime in early 2022, it felt like the internet itself had just birthed a sports drink. Two of the most influential YouTubers on the planet, fresh off the hype of their boxing rivalry, decided to turn their newfound friendship into a billion-dollar business venture, and for a while, it worked. To Logan, Prime wasn't just another influencer product. It was the vehicle, the one that would make him the next beverage mogul. He said it out loud multiple times. Prime was his fastest route to billionaire status.
The honest answer, when we both hit that B. I'm out this bitch when I hit that B. I'm out.
The plan was to build Prime up as the next big competitor to industry giants like Gatorade, Body Armor, and Powerade. Gain market share fast, get acquired by someone like Coca-Cola or Pepsi for billions, exit rich. Simple. But that was all in theory. Logan wasn't just relying on flavor and formula, he was the brand. Prime followed him everywhere. Press conferences, podcast episodes, even the announcement of his wife's pregnancy. Somehow, even that moment came packaged with a Prime product placement. And if that wasn't enough, he bundled the drink into his latest lunchbox venture, Lunchly, which just so happened to feature a Prime bottle inside. It didn't matter whether it was a fight, a vlog, a skit, or a podcast. If Logan Paul was there, so was Prime. The branding was relentless. It wasn't about creating a drink people loved, it was about making Prime unavoidable. But from the very beginning, there was one glaring issue. The entire brand was built around two internet personalities, two clowns, as some critics would later describe them, louder than life, controversial by nature, and not exactly the poster children for long-term brand trust. Still, at the peak of their powers, Logan and KSI believed they could force Prime into dominance through sheer will and internet fame. And for a brief moment, they nearly pulled it off. But hype doesn't last forever. As fast as Prime rose to fame, the cracks started showing just as quickly. What began as an exciting limited release product, backed by two of the biggest internet personalities, became something entirely different. Bloated, confusing, and directionless. At first, the limited availability was part of the charm. In the UK, the hype reached absurd levels. Kids were reselling Prime bottles like they were rare sneakers. Some schools reported black market trading among students, children flipping drinks for profit in hallways. And somehow, this chaos was seen as a win by the brand. But Prime's team made one fatal mistake. They believed this hype would last forever. Instead of pacing the product like a real beverage brand, Logan and KSI flooded the market with endless variations, new flavors, new packaging, new collabs. Suddenly, Prime was everywhere, and yet, no one was buying it anymore. The product went from feeling exclusive to feeling excessive, like a meme that had gone on too long. And the bigger question became, who was this drink even for? Was it for athletes on the field, for kids at lunch, or was it just a flashy bottle designed to ride internet hype? The answer, unfortunately, was never clear. Even Prime's own marketing couldn't decide. One minute it was promoted as a superior sports drink, the next, it was a collectible item being unboxed on YouTube like a Pokemon card. And when you don't know who your audience is, eventually your audience disappears. And with Prime bottles now gathering dust on clearance racks, the brand's once exclusive image began to look cheap. Prime was no longer the hottest drink in the room, it was just another drink, oversupplied, overexposed, and now dangerously close to being over. By 2024, the numbers told a story that even Logan Paul couldn't spin. In the UK, one of Prime's biggest markets, the brand was hit with a staggering 90% drop in profit. Revenue didn't just dip, it crashed by over 70%. That's not a bad quarter, that's a brand falling off a cliff. And it wasn't just a UK problem. Across the US, once considered the home turf for Prime's loudest fans, sales were down over 50%. Shelves that used to be cleared in minutes were now overflowing. retailers stopped limiting purchases, they started marking them down. The drink that was once impossible to find had become impossible to sell. At first, Prime was seen as a potential Gatorade killer, a disruptor in the hydration game. But now, the market had spoken, and it no longer saw Prime as a serious competitor. The novelty had worn off, the hype had cooled, and consumers were asking a brutal question: was Prime ever really that good to begin with? When the dust settled, one thing was clear. Prime wasn't just facing a sales slump, it was facing an identity crisis. And for a brand that built its empire on hype, reality had finally caught up. As if crashing sales weren't enough, Prime walked straight into a financial minefield. In 2024, beverage giant Refresco, one of the largest bottling companies in the world, hit Prime with a $67 million lawsuit. The claim was that Prime allegedly broke a bottling agreement by not meeting the production volumes they had promised. This wasn't just about missed numbers. It was a glimpse into what was really happening behind the scenes. Prime had locked itself into massive production deals, banking on never-ending demand. But as consumer hype fizzled out, bottles stopped moving and warehouses started piling up. Suddenly, their billion-dollar bravado looked more like billion-dollar miscalculation. And that kind of volatility? It's poison for serious investors. The Refresco suit wasn't just a legal problem, it was a trust problem. And in the world of billion-dollar beverages, once the market starts doubting your numbers, your valuation drops faster than your stock on launch day. To truly understand Prime's downfall, you have to compare it to a brand that did it right: Body Armor. Unlike Prime's roller coaster ride, Body Armor took its time. 7 years of consistent growth, year after year, steady increases in sales. No hype gimmicks, no internet influencer antics, just slow, calculated brand building. By 2018, Coca-Cola had taken notice. They bought a 15% stake, plugging Body Armor into their vast bottling and distribution networks. This wasn't just an investment, it was a masterstroke. Body Armor exploded. Sales skyrocketed by 180% in just 1 year. 2 years later, Coca-Cola purchased the remaining shares, a full buyout. The secret? Patience, professionalism, and a clear focus on product quality. Meanwhile, Prime was stuck in a different game. Prime leaned heavily on internet fame and influencer hype without a real long-term strategy. Where Body Armor built trust and brand loyalty, Prime relied on viral moments and celebrity stunts, which, as we've seen, are fleeting. For investors, that's a deal breaker. And it should be noted that Prime was marketed as the healthier, better-for-you sports drink, promising superior hydration and electrolyte balance. But when experts took a closer look, the story wasn't quite so rosy. Medical professionals and nutritionists quickly pointed out the flaws. Prime's formula is essentially a potassium drink sweetened with sucralose, far from the carefully balanced electrolyte blends you find in proven hydration products.
So let's get to the formula again and kind of round this out. So we have, again, the basis of the whole thing is essentially that this is not an actual electrolyte formula, rather it is a potassium drink with sucralose. That is what it is. Like, that's the purpose of Prime. It is something that you can drink on a daily basis as an enjoyable drink. That is what it is.
For example, popular brands like Liquid IV pack a full spectrum of electrolytes in precise amounts that actually match what your body loses when sweating. But Prime, it barely measures up. Sure, Prime boasts low sugar, but it lacks sodium, a crucial electrolyte needed to replenish what you lose during exercise. Without sodium, hydration just doesn't happen efficiently. In other words, Prime was selling an image of health, but the science behind it simply didn't hold up. This disconnect between marketing and reality only added to the growing skepticism among consumers and professionals alike. Prime's collapse isn't just about falling sales or lawsuits. It's a failure of identity, strategy, and trust, a branding disaster masked by internet fame. The billion-dollar payday Logan Paul and KSI dreamed of is slipping further away by the day.